That's fine.
I thought that was a Budweiser right there.
If you're gonna watch that, I'll make you pop in now.
No, let her pan in. Polly, I'm having Denise do a shot. How this started was that when Axis of Love found out the day of the raid, we had people come basically and knock on our door and say, you know, Emmelyns was being raided, and Axis of Love was up at City Hall testifying about the budget cuts, which dramatically affect every patient in this room. There's a lot of cuts to AIDS and HIV services, women's shelters, everything that is important for survival. So I made the call not to pull everybody from City Hall over to the raid, but to call the Speaker of the House's office and set up a coalition meeting, because I knew that we would need it. We haven't had a raid in San Francisco since HopeNet over 3 years ago, and that case has been dropped. HopeNet was asked to come and pick up the evidence. And you don't get asked to come and pick up evidence if the case is going to be continued. We hope for a dismissal in Emmelyns' situation as well. So after I played several calls to the Speaker of the House's office, her deputy director got back to me and gave us the earliest appointment they had available, which was Monday at 4. Then we did our press conference the day after the raid. The press conference was very effective. We had Channel 2 there. We had people from different organizations, including Normal and Tax and Regulate, showed up, spoke, and then, you know, we proceeded up to the Speaker of the House's office that day and let them know that we wanted the appointment, and they were very sympathetic, and everybody should probably know that Nancy Pelosi has been awarded many awards from the cannabis community for her. She's been pretty much straight ahead since the minute she took office about being in support of medical cannabis. So we were warmly received, and the appointment was made. We brought the coalition to the meeting. But we had a pre-meeting at 2:30. At 2:30 here, the owner of Emmelyns showed up and his legal representative, which just happens to be former District Attorney Terrence Hallahan. And they were very grateful. They were very grateful to Axis of Love for having some real forward-thinking actions, not just showing up at the raid and screaming and yelling, but contacting the Speaker of the House while the raid was being conducted, putting together a press conference, getting together a coalition. So we got a lot of brownie points for showing San Francisco that the premier, you know, patient advocacy group in San Francisco knows how to accomplish things. And at our pre-meeting, we learned that Emmelyns wanted to open up. The owner is obviously feeling very, very shooken up. The manager of his dispensary is his sister-in-law. The DEA put a gun to his sister-in-law's head. So obviously he's, you know, kind of just really and physically in shock, and he wasn't sure if he should actually attend the meeting. And he did actually attend the meeting, and he actually did fine at the meeting. You know, he did fine at the meeting. The coalition members, I want everybody to know who was represented at the table. Gregory Ledbetter represented Black and Brown Equitable Just Policy Organization. I represented Axis of Love SF. Mickey Norris represented Tax and Regulate, which is the group that basically is the reason we have lowest priority and the reason why lowest priority bills were passed up and down the coast of California. And we had Dale Geringer, who is the California head of Normal. and we had Dr. Aldrich and his wife Michelle, who have been cannabis legislation elders for 30 years. They helped create Prop W, Prop P, Prop 215, etc. And the night before, we went up and spoke with the Speaker of the House's Deputy Director. Each of the organizations kind of did their own independent work, and our organization and NORML were the only ones that actually handed in a packet pre-meeting to the Speaker of the House's Deputy Director, and that's what I'm going to read to you guys, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Deputy Director's reaction. DJ Coutier, who did most of the work on the Los Angeles raids, and of course Los Angeles in the last 3 years has suffered over 300 raids.
Wow.
So, you know, I came in with my two raid experience, and she came in with her 300 plus in the Los Angeles area experience, and including all of the 6 dispensaries in Compton that were raided. She was the chief legal spot person when that happened, and arranged probably the most successful press conference from the African American cannabis community in Los Angeles. So it's always a pleasure to work with DJ. And we got on the phone and we were working, God, it was hours. And it came out to just these 3 little pages. But it feels like it should have been a novel, right? And basically, we addressed it to Dear Honorable House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. We thank you and your district staff for holding this urgent meeting to discuss the recent gunpoint raid by the Drug Enforcement Administration on a medical cannabis collective in San Francisco. In recent weeks, U.S. Attorney General Eric H. Holder Jr. has publicly stated that ending these raids is now American policy, and that the Department of Justice would not spend federal resources prosecuting medical cannabis facilities that are state compliant.